AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile people who are in the process of overcoming or have possibly overcome some significant life events that became a crisis to that person. I am Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I am with my wife and business partner, Marty. We are profiling people who have overcome or are in the process of overcoming with the hope that their experience will add value to you. Perhaps you are experiencing some life event that you want to know that you are not alone, plus the possibility you want to know how to recover from or overcome a life event. We hope that you get the value from this podcast series that we intend. And we hope that you'll give us a 5-star rating and subscribe to this series. Today we are with Cindy, who is a counselor at the Evolve Life Centers, who has recovered from, or she will tell you she will always be in a recovering state from drug addiction. Her drug addiction started approximately 11 years old when she actually got started with the drug intake. However, Marty, what was one of your takes from her story?
I would like for you to listen to her story from like 6 years old to 11, what that was like, and then listen at the age of 11 when she started her drug addiction.
So we're going to encourage you to pick up on what Cindy will tell you. Was the exterior. She was an athlete and quite accomplished from what her story would tell you, but there were things in her life, the underlying parts, the parts that were behind the scenes, so to speak, that were operative in her life that led to her drug addiction. She was addicted to the drugs and a victim of the drug disease for many years. You learned about her family. She has an intriguing story. You'll be captivated by it. And so we want to have you listen to Cindy's story and become totally engrossed and involved with her story and how we on the outside can become involved. And if you are considering using drugs, we want to have you listen to this intently so that you can experience what Cindy has experienced, with the hope that you will avoid using any drugs of any kind. So listen to Cindy's story, and we would like to learn together from her experience. Hi, Cindy. Good to have you with us on our Overcomers Overcoming podcast. And Cindy, you are one of the corporate executives at Evolve Life Center, right?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm a counselor.
All right.
And actually, I've been a counselor for probably about 22 years. And then just recently, a couple weeks ago, I actually stepped into a new position as a brand representative. So, which is still in the process of, coming together. So I'm kind of juggling both positions right now, moving towards that position full time.
Well, my guess is, Cindy, that...
But thank you for that compliment there.
That's all right. My guess is several years or decades ago, you would not be then where you are now.
Absolutely not, no. So thanks for having me. I guess I'll just give you a little bit of my childhood background. Mm-hmm. So I'm an only child. And, people used to say that an only child was a spoiled child. Not for me. An only child was a lonely child. We grew up, I was very poor growing up. And so when I think about my childhood, I think about going into middle school, and I remember that's when things changed for me. So prior to that, I was in elementary school and I was a pretty good kid. I got pretty good grades. I was involved in a lot of different activities. I was an athlete. I was in a lot of sports. Who knows? Maybe I would have made the Olympics one day, right? So I was on a swim team in high dive competition. I played softball. I did gymnastics. I did tap, ballet, jazz, baton, just whatever. I did all of that. And then when I went into middle school, it was the 6th grade. And I remember everything changed. And, I used to think for a long time, it was people, places, and things, right? It was, I just wanted to be liked by people. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be the cool kid. So I did what you did and then some so that I could be in that role, until I got, further along in recovery, of course, and then I understood that that was just the tip of the iceberg. But back then, I didn't know any different. And so there was a particular girl, and she had failed quite a few times. So she was in the 6th grade, but probably should have been like in the 9th or 10th grade. And so she was like a woman. She was not like a little girl in 6th grade. And she was experienced, and she kind of took me under her wing and treated me like the sister that she never had, that nor I never had. And then I just remember everything changed for me. I just started partying a lot. I turned from being this sweet little innocent girl that was an athlete and got good grades, to somebody who was like getting tattoos, started wearing leather jackets. Back then, listened to a lot of heavy metal music, going to headbanging parties. You know what I mean? I was 11 and 12 years old and I was smoking PCP. You know what I mean? Like, that's not normal for an 11 or 12-year-old kid to do. But I remember that that's like where it all began, and at that time my parents probably split up when I was about 11. And so it was always, for the longest time, just me and my mom, and my dad was not in my life. And so, my mother struggled. My parents were babies having a baby. My mother was 14, my father was 15, and so here my mother is, she's 14 having me, and I grew up and it was just her and I. And I remember like she was never home, because she worked around the clock to try to put food on the table, and then of course during that time, my mother and I had a very strained relationship growing up. It was very abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in every which way. So that went on for, the better part of my years growing up. And I just wanted to escape, and so when my parents were together before they split up, there was a lot of abuse there. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of physical abuse, and so I used drugs as an scapegoat, and I remember being 11 and climbing out the bedroom window at 3 o'clock in the morning to go hang out with people and do drugs.
Wow.
Because that was just my way of getting away and escaping everything.
Just curious, Cindy, did any family member or anybody describe to you the difference in life? What I'm hearing is up until 10, 11 years old, you were the consummate athlete. You could do anything, everything, and then all of a sudden, there was a major turning point in your life that this other 11-year-old with whom you identified, you almost did a 180 turn in your life, it sounds like. Did anyone come to you and just say, Cindy, what's going on?
So I remember one teacher, and she was my 6th-grade math teacher. And I remember her calling my mother. And I remember the conversation that took place between the two of them, and that was about it. And she reached out to my mother because she knew what kind of kid I was, and she saw the transformation take place right before her eyes. And she was like, I don't know what's going on with Cindy, but she's not the same. And, but other than that, no.
So at that point, did you feel, or as you're looking back on that nobody knew what was happening to Cindy? And can you almost say that maybe no one cared enough to try to really get to the root of what's going on with Cindy?
Yeah, and I don't know if I would use the word cared enough. I just believe that, when you don't know, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in learned behavior. And I believe in, if you just don't know, you just don't know. It's just kind of like being uneducated about the whole thing. And there was nobody, I remember like the day that I made the decision to quit school, and there wasn't much of a fight to that. And I remember coming home and I had a tattoo and I was using drugs, and I just walked in the door and told my mother I quit school and I'm not going back.
Mm-hmm.
And she might have raised a little ruckus and hollered a little bit, but because as a mother, I guess that's what she's supposed to do. But
At what age did you decide this?
So I was in the 8th grade and I dropped out. So I never completed the 8th grade.
All right.
And understanding also that the family that I come from, none of them did either. Nobody in my family ever graduated from high school.
Okay.
That was unheard of. My grandparents on my father's side, they had like a 2nd grade education. There was like a 6th grade education. So let alone high school, nobody ever even made it out of middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no educational background. Everybody in the family used something.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of alcoholics, a lot of drug addiction in my family.
What I think I'm hearing, Cindy, is you're saying we're just, or you at that point, we're just carrying on a family tradition.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing what you did, everybody accepted it because everybody's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just became fully swept up in what was happening at the time.
Yeah, and I think that everybody had so much of their own stuff going on that nobody was really paying attention to my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like my mother has 2 brothers, and again, I grew up as an only child, but I kind of looked at her 2 brothers like my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to party a lot, and they were older. And so I just jumped right in and,
right.
I grew up and I just partied with them, and it was almost like it was normal.
And what I'm getting a sense is that some of the adults may have, if they didn't explicitly say it, implicitly they're saying, Cindy, I can't get involved with you. I got enough going on in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Cindy, you do whatever you're going to do. I do what I do, and we all go our own ways.
Yeah, it was just the norm for
Yep.
everybody.
That's as I say, the family tradition, the family culture, and it was just almost expected that.
Yeah.
You just do this kind of
But then who would have ever thought, like, starting off at 11 years old, smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol, smoking PCP, doing all of the things that I was doing was going to lead me to this heroin addiction later on in life.
And when did that start?
So I started using heroin when I was 21. So my heroin addiction didn't last that long enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was a couple of years, but... so I pretty much used everything and anything in between up until I was 21. And then, at the age of 21, I started using heroin. That became my drug of choice.
So did you go back to school and finish high school?
Not until I came into recovery, of course, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, so to fast forward, I got clean November 24th of 1997. So my clean date is coming up. And I'm coming up on 23 years clean, November.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided probably after I got clean for about a year, I decided that I wanted to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started, with GED preparation classes. I had to take a lot of classes that didn't even count, that had no credit, before I could even take regular GED preparation classes. And then I remember taking the GED test, and the first time I took it, I failed by 1 point. And then I went back and I took it again, and I passed the second time around, which was huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I was really good at starting things, but I didn't finish nothing. And I could have used that as an excuse to just say, oh, well, I'm never going to get it.
Right.
But I went back, and then and that was huge, even getting a GED, because again, I was the first in my family that ever did anything like that. And then I decided, to go further with my education at that point. But
So you take us back to you were 20 something. You were more than 10 years addicted to drugs. That there was. Can you describe the event, if there was one? What was it that said no more?
well, so unfortunately, it took me 13 treatment centers to realize maybe heroin was a problem. I was in and out, in and out, in and out of treatment centers and recovery houses and IOPs and OPs and detoxes and long-term and short-term, and I did it all. And there were times that I went into treatment and I thought I was ready. There were times when I really thought in my heart that I had a most sincere desire that I was never going to use again, only to get out and use again. And that went on for a long time, so I know what it's like to not want to use, but not know how to not use, and so at the end of the road, I mean, I was just, I want to watch my language too, but I mean, I was defecating all over myself. I was vomiting. I was homeless. I was in the street. I was broken. I was probably 85 pounds, my black eyes, gray hair, you know what I mean? Like, to look at me now and to see me back then, you would never even connect that it would be the same person. But I looked like death. I smelled like death. I felt like death. I was walking death, and I used hard on the streets of Baltimore City. And I used to run around Baltimore City by myself, and, and I went to any length to do what I had to do to use drugs. That was what I did, and then that just kept going for a while until, one day I just had enough, and it's really difficult to pinpoint, like, well, what was it that made you stop, because there were many times when I thought I wanted to stop,
right.
And so, I think about this thing that I read all the time, and it talks about, like, you can be prayed over, you can be counseled over, it doesn't matter. An addict's not going to stop using until they're ready to stop using,
right.
And so it's unfortunate that, we all go to different levels, but that was the level that the disease of addiction had taken me.
Cindy, it sounds like, gosh, you may have been 15 years or so into it, and it's very interesting to me that you're a trained counselor, and you've been through it, and you can probably spot almost right away. You're here allegedly to recover, but I can tell by your actions you're not ready. You know if that person
Yes.
is serious or not.
Pretty much.
I'm not sure I'm using the right terms.
Yeah. No, I agree. And is it always spot on? No. But most of the time, I like to say you can't dopamine a dopamine. You know what I mean? And so when you've been there, done that, most of the time you can tell when somebody is serious, about their recovery and they're ready to get clean. And then most of the time you can tell when they're not, right? And when they're just saying whatever it is that they think that they're supposed to say, what the right thing to say is, the right choice of words. I always say, especially as addicts and alcoholics, we know what to say. You know what I mean? We can talk a good talk. We can talk the talk, but a lot of times, we can't walk the walk. So I could sell the shoes off your feet, without a doubt.
Yeah. I'm guessing, Cindy, that having been through what you've been through, you see what you have seen, your heart goes out to that person. If you were to say, you're just not ready yet, I can tell that you're not spiritually there, you're not, whatever the reason, I can just tell. You are not ready for it. You're going to have to experience more of it. And your heart goes out to that person, I'm guessing, and you wish you could keep that person from doing what you feel certain they're going to do. But is there a part of you that says, I guess you're just going to have to experience what you're experiencing until you hit bottom, you realize, or something of that nature?
Well, of course, because I mean, to some degree, I don't have a choice because there's nothing you can really do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we just hope that even though, a person may not be ready, we hope that they get ready before they die. You know, what I will say is that being on the flip side, I believe as long as there's breath, there's hope. And so I hold on to that because, it took me 13 treatment centers, and as strained and abusive as the relationship was with my mother, I had a praying mother. I had a mother that never gave up on me. I had family that never gave up on me. I had people in 12-step meetings that would say the serenity prayer for the suffering addict, and I was the suffering addict. So when you have people that don't give up on you, you don't give up on people.
Right.
And so it's just like, I had an experience yesterday. I went to West Baltimore and I went to a soup kitchen. And so you go down there and you talk to the ladies that are involved in the sex trafficking, and they're using pretty hard, and this, that, and the other, and they're not ready. But it doesn't matter if they're ready. You're there and you're ready to give them hope, and that's what it's about. To me, it's just about planting the seed, because you never know when that day is going to come that they are going to be ready. And so I always say it doesn't matter if we stood with the great. What matters is, did we sit with the broken? I was very, very broken when I came here. Very broken.
Cindy, talk to us about how those of us on the outside can relate to people like you. That is, you're not ready. We can, even though we're not trained as you are, we can just kind of discern you're not ready yet, but I want to be available to you on the other side. But my guess is, you know exactly, to tell you you must stop, Cindy. You must stop now. Probably will have maybe even an adverse impact.
Oh yeah, that doesn't work. You can't tell somebody to just stop. Can you just stop eating a cookie? Can you just stop smoking cigarettes? Can you just stop gambling, shopping? You know what I mean? Because while a drug is a drug is a drug, an addiction is an addiction is an addiction. And so you can't just tell somebody to stop. But what we can do is we can be there. We can plant the seed. We can breathe hope into people. We can provide resources. We can let them know that you're not alone, that we understand, that we've been there. And when you are ready, and when you do hit bottom, and you're ready to reach out for help, give me a call and I'll be there.
So in spite of what you described as a dysfunctional family, you knew that after some number of years, 15 years or something, that somebody seems to impress me enough that they care. They're there with me. And who was that, and how might we be that type person to just know that, Cindy, we're just going to wait for you to go through whatever you have to go through, but just know we're going to be there when you have reached that point to accept you.
Yeah. I mean, well, it was quite a few people, right? I mean, I think about my family. I think about my mom and dad. At the end of the day, it didn't matter how much we went through, what I did to them. It didn't matter how much I stole from them, how much I broke their heart. It didn't matter how many sleepless nights, they had when they walked the floors and didn't know when the phone call was going to come. At the end of the day, I was their daughter. They were not going to give up on me. So I'm grateful to have had family that didn't give up on me. Not everybody's that fortunate that has that family. Some people have the family that's not blood family. Some people have other people in their lives that they consider family that didn't give up on them, that are just as powerful. I remember having a counselor, and she was somebody who stood out for me because I was in this long-term treatment facility in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And she was an attraction to me, and I never forgot her, and so, we have this saying, attraction rather than promotion. You can't promote, and say, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to stop. No, but what we can do is we can be the attraction that people see, right? like Christians might say, I'm the only Bible you may read.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In a 12-step fellowship, we may say, I'm the only basic text that you may read.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's about what I do and how I live and the attraction. Right? And so I had a counselor that was like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember sitting in treatment and looking at her, and I thought to myself, like, wow, she's really pretty. You know what I mean? And she's smart, and she's helping people, and she's doing all of these wonderful things. And then for like a moment, I had that moment of clarity when I thought to myself, you know what? I could do that one day, right? I could help people. I could be somebody. I'm not that dumb after all. You know what I mean? Because when you look back at when things began, like, did they really begin when I entered middle school in the 6th grade? Or did it possibly start way before that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I believe it did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm somebody that grew up, with no self-esteem, no self-worth, no self-respect. I hated who I was. I hated everything about me. I hated what I looked like, what I sounded like. I hated my voice. I hated my parents. I hated the home I grew up in. I hated everything, and I did whatever I could to get away from that image. I didn't want to be me. I wanted to be anybody other than who I was. I wanted your house. I wanted to live in your home. I wanted your parents. I wanted your brother. I wanted your life. I wanted to look like you. I wanted to talk like you, walk like you, sound like you. You know what I mean? I wanted everything other than what I had and who I was. So, coming into recovery and working on myself for years and years, you start to uncover some things that, initially you just think, oh, well, she got into the wrong crowd. And no, the disease of addiction started way before that, long time ago, but way before I ever even picked a drug up.
Yeah. Here's what I'm picturing, Cindy, that up until age 11 or something like that, you were a star athlete. On the surface, people observing you would probably say, oh my goodness, Cindy does everything. She's just a naturally talented girl. Therefore, some of us, if we didn't know Cindy pretty intimately, might think that, boy, she's the picture of confidence and so forth. She could do anything. My guess is Cindy, knowing Cindy, and at least looking back to say, you never knew what was on the inside, what was
of course
kind of happening there. All you saw was the external.
Yeah.
But it's the stuff on the inside that was the root cause of stuff.
Yeah, none of that stuff matters anyways, because if you don't believe it, it doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have people tell you that, and, but if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter.
But now, that's a very key point. If you don't believe it, there's a self-worth, self-awareness, self-esteem, self-gratitude, self-confidence, all these kind of things wrapped up. Cindy, what I think I'm hearing from you is, and you had a life, who knows, 25 years of a lack of some of the stuff that we just mentioned. And I'm just choosing to believe that as a counselor, you're still recovering, but you're still developing the good part of that. But you can recognize those kind of things in other people.
Of course.
That hey, if you see it or sense it, that's.
If you spot it, you got it.
Okay, great. If you spot it, you got it.
Yeah.
That's pretty key right there.
Yeah.
But would it be fair to say, Cindy, we just need to get involved with people, and you can't say, gosh, Cindy, you must stop.
Yeah.
But if I choose to get involved with you and I care about you, there's a degree of tolerance, patience, whatever it is that, Cindy, I don't know, maybe it'll take several years, but just know that I'm not going to leave you nor forsake you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be ready for you when you make the decision.
Yeah, doesn't always happen in our time.
Okay.
It happens in God's time.
It happens in God's time, and boy, there is a perseverance. I mean, it's particularly for family members, or those who care about it, whether you're bloodline family or not. Gosh, we could be thinking, I wish you weren't so, but okay, you're just going to have to go through experience whatever.
And it's very hard to be on the other end of that, especially if you don't understand the disease of addiction and you're a family member or friend of a loved one. and you've never been through it, and so naturally our instinct is we just want to do all we can to help, and sometimes we can actually do more damage, sometimes we can actually hurt than help, and so we talk about enabling. Like my mother was my biggest enabler. A big turnaround for me was when my mother stopped enabling me and when she stopped giving me money for drugs because she didn't understand. All she knew was I was sick. So let me give her money to go get drugs so she's not sick anymore. So when she made a decision to not enable me anymore and love me to life instead of loving me to death, and she packed the green garbage bag and told me to get out, was the day that my life changed. And I remember being in treatment, and I called her from treatment, and I said, when I'm done treatment, can I come home? And she said, what home? Get a year clean and call me back.
Wow.
And sometimes we need that tough love.
Right. But your mom gave you money for drugs. She knew you were addicted. She knew you had the disease. But mom, I'm gonna just feed your habit.
But didn't understand the whole dynamics of the disease of addiction, and when you don't know, you don't know. I remember going to my mother for the very first time and telling her I had a drug problem, and she said, well, what are you doing, smoking marijuana? And I said, I wish I was. Because to me that would have been easy.
Wow. Cindy, you've overcome a lot. And you're still overcome, meaning
Still
I'm guessing
it's
a life of development.
And that's just the thing about being in recovery, is that it never ends. There's no cure. As far as I'm concerned, I'll never be that normal person, whatever that is. A cycle in your wash machine, I don't know. I'll never be that person that can drink a beer with steamed crabs. I'll never be that person that will be able to have a glass of wine at dinner. And the beautiful part about it is I don't want to be.
Okay, but here's one thing I sense in you, Cindy, that I don't need it, don't want it, and I know it's wrong for me, and if everybody else is doing it, I'm fine. I know that I can't. And if you want to know why, I'll explain it, but...
Yeah, well, we have this other saying, right? One is too many and 1,000 is never enough, and I already know. And that's the difference between somebody who suffers from, a substance abuse disorder opposed to not. I don't know about anybody else. I can't even eat one potato chip. So if I have one beer, I'm going back to Baltimore City. That's what's happening to me.
All right.
If I have a beer, I'm going back to being homeless, jobless, hopeless, helpless, penniless. I'm going back to jail. I'm going back to all that.
That to me is profound, positive self-awareness. And then the corollary to this might be you are 1 month or so newly married. Am I right?
I am.
And now what role does your husband play in your developing self-esteem and your positive self-awareness and so forth?
So he's in recovery himself. He just celebrated 23 years clean.
Congratulations.
And so I'm very grateful, and we talk about this all the time. I'm very grateful to have a partner that is just as passionate about our recovery today as we were 23 years ago. And so we help one another, and we encourage each other, and we continue to fan the flame for other people as well as one another.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So you feel you're, to a degree, or maybe actually accountable to each other, and you're not just as marriage partners, but I mean, just even if you were just accountability partners.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that's great.
Yeah, because you have the husband and wife role, and then we have a friendship, and then we have, the other role as addicts. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Cindy, you've got a phenomenal story that I think our listeners are going to be intrigued. The fact that you were just what I'm going to categorize as a star athlete, but there was stuff internal that just said, I'm going to repeat what you said. If you don't know what you don't know, those of us on the outside.
Yeah, I strongly encourage people to, if you don't know, ask, get involved.
Okay.
If you don't understand the disease of addiction, I suggest that you get out there and you find out what the disease of addiction really is. It's not a moral deficiency. It's really, really changed a lot. The stigma of addiction throughout the years. There's another saying that we have, right? We used to say, once an addict, always an addict. That's not true. We do recover.
Okay.
And we are recovering, and we are living healthy, loving, happy, meaningful lives. We're getting married. We're having children. We're showing up. We're being mothers and grandmothers and parents and friends and employers, and we're opening businesses, and we're going back to school, and we're getting educated, and so. Yeah.
Here's a very important aspect of what you said, Cindy, is get involved. And I'm going to tell you that those of us on the outside, I like that, but I'm sensing from you there's an effective way to get involved. That is, if I come in and enter your life and say, you've got to stop what you're doing. I mean, I'm getting involved, but it's very ineffective, I'm guessing, with that. So there's a right way to involve ourselves in an addict's life. Can you just briefly describe it? Or is that very personalized?
It can be personalized, but there's so many resources out there, there's treatment, I mean, here I am at Evolve Life Centers, right? And I've been here for a year and a half, and I can honestly say, being on both sides of the fence as a client and as an employee, it's probably the most amazing treatment center that I've ever worked in. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. I say that because I believe that we care, that you're not just a number, and that makes a difference. So there are so many resources. There's 12-step programs, there's NA, there's AA, there's CDA, there's Smart Recovery, there's Celebrate Recovery for people who are Christians and want to be involved in the church. There's Nar-Anon and Al-Anon, for the families of the loved ones of addicts and alcoholics. If you want to learn about the disease of addiction, and you want to learn how to love somebody to life and not death, and you want to learn how not to enable, I definitely would recommend going to a Nar-Anon or Al-Anon meeting. If you are not an addict or an alcoholic yourself, that's the place for you to be.
Okay, now that's important to know, that those of us on the outside are welcome to these insider meetings.
Nar-Anon and Al-Anon meetings, absolutely, and they do have 12-step meetings that are open to the public, yes.
Okay.
They have some that are closed, that are specifically for people in recovery, but not all of them are. Are you welcome to come to a 12-step meeting and sit in the back of the room and listen to the hope and people share their experience, strengths, and hopes? Absolutely.
Okay. That's good to know. And,
so there's a lot of ways to get involved. There's a lot of ways to reach out. There's a lot of ways to get educated and get involved and get resources. And I feel like the more we get involved and the more people understand, the better off we'll all be.
Certainly. And Cindy, we've discussed the community effort kind of thing, that I think the more we know and the more we can effectively become involved with the knowledge base of just how to do this, and we care from the heart, my sense is over time, if we're persistent and we persevere, we can have a positive impact. Am I accurately kind of characterizing?
Yeah. Sometimes all you need to do is listen. Sometimes people don't need all that. They just want somebody to listen. They just want somebody to know that they're there. Right. They just want somebody to care for them and know that they haven't given up. And when they're ready, they got a place to go.
Thank you, Cindy. And Evolve Life Centers, if any of us on the outside know that there is someone suffering from the disease of addiction, we can just call and
you
ask.
You can call Evolve Life Centers. You can go on our website at www.evolvelifecenters.com. You can reach out to Cindy, the brand representative, and I will help you in any way I can.
Great. Cindy, I'm guessing that you have already helped a lot of lives, maybe more than you know. And but Marty and I sincerely appreciate your dedication to what for a lot of us think of as a pretty dreadful disease. And I guess we still have the hope that maybe if we can help people make the right decision before they ever get involved, with knowing that we care, have the courage to make the decision even though you're the only one amongst a crowd, then maybe we can, it's hopefully you understand what I'm saying, maybe we can put Evolve Life Centers out of business because there's no demand for you.
Yeah.
Meaning there's no demand for the drugs, no addictions.
Yeah.
So, Cindy, thank you so much for your heart, for your service to others. And
thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. If you, or possibly you know someone who has the propensity to become involved in drugs, to be part of the drug disease, we want to encourage you to reach out to people. If you would like to talk to Cindy, we encourage you, strongly encourage you, send a message to Ron at thecooperculture.com. We will get you in contact with Cindy. Evolve Life Centers is an organization that is helping drug diseased people, those addicted to drugs, to overcome that addiction. Cindy is very experienced, as you learned from this. She is 23 years, nearly 23 years clean, and she has a heart to want to help people through a drug addiction. And those of us on the outside want to learn what it is that are some of the causes of those who have the propensity to become involved in drugs. And so those of us on the outside would like to learn more about what it is, some of the internal conflicts that people have. Cindy has done a great job of explaining what some of her problems were. Perhaps we can be a catalyst in helping identify with others who have the propensity to get involved in drugs. But as Cindy was explaining, there are programs within the Evolve Life Centers that we can involve ourselves with to learn about the disease of drug addiction, to learn how to become involved with a person's life, to learn how to possibly help a person before they're ever engaged in drug abuse. We hope that you'll take advantage of these opportunities. The Cooper's culture also has opportunities that we want to make available to you to coach people as life coaches. We help people reach their full potential. We know that there are challenges in life, perhaps some life obstacles that are difficult to get over, that sometimes result in low self-confidence and matters of that nature. We want to help you overcome those type things and to help you live a life at your full potential. We also have a digital relationship program. Cindy was very eloquent in mentioning the relationships that she had in her life, even her family, albeit it was a dysfunctional family. But we know the value of relationships. We encourage you to get involved with people to develop those very meaningful relationships. The digital relationship course that Marty and I have put together is one course that can help you understand people and learn how to more effectively become engaged in people's lives. So contact us, Ron at the Cooper Culture or Marty at the Cooper Culture. Let us know how we can help you in the context of relationships with people. And if you are going through any challenges in life that you would like to just talk with somebody, please call us and let us know how we might be able to help you through life challenges. The purpose of this podcast series is to let you know that you are not alone and that many people have overcome many different life challenges. We can always together work through any challenge you have. So we look forward to developing a very meaningful relationship with you. Contact us and let us know if we can help you in any way, or if there's anything that we can do to follow on with this podcast. We do look forward to interacting with you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.